But I would like to ride another bike, kind of like within a day or two of this one, just so I can, because then you could really, I mean, the differences would be obvious. But once you've been riding one for a long time and not riding any other kind, you tend to forget and not be able to compare very well. I liked my Road King. It was a little big for me, and it leaked oil in my garage. And because of that, I was mad at it, and I sold it. Got a wave from the first motorcycle. The second motorcycle was a party pooper. Oh, why are you turning here? You could have gone for that. Guess I could have, like, gone around him, but there's not much shoulder here. Really don't want to end up in gravel. Part of the road's a little bumpy. But it's still not too bad. I mean, my butt is kind of bouncing a little bit, but it's not getting launched off the seat. But again, I guess if you were heavier, maybe you wouldn't bounce at all, or very little. I don't know if maybe I should look at the suspension adjustment on this and see if it can be loosened at all. Relaxed a little. Thought maybe I took a look at it when I was doing some maintenance stuff, and maybe it was as far as it can be adjusted. I don't remember. I looked at the other scooter too, though, so maybe I'm confusing the two. Maybe I've never looked at this one. That scooter, the SH, the back suspension is great. It's like the perfect spot for me. But the front, those front forks just blast every... I think it's just because it's a really light light scooter. It just, when it hits stuff, the front just bounces all over the place. This one, at least, it doesn't seem to happen. This is a very heavy motorcycle, though. Or it's very heavy for a scooter. It's great gas mileage still, though. I think I got 65 65 to 70, something like that. I think 65. When I was doing mostly rural, so probably around 60, 65 miles an hour. Pretty much from empty to full, and or full to empty. So I don't know how. Oh yeah, I think I did it by the trip. So I think I reset the trip and then measured that. So that should have been a fairly accurate reading, because this thing will tell you trip average miles per gallon and all that. I think it tells you miles till empty. I'll have to buzz through the settings to see, because that would be helpful, because the bars, like the fuel bars on the gauge, I don't like that very much, because there's only 5 bars on this gauge, so you're seeing how much fuel you have in 20% increments. And 20%, that could be the difference between running out of gas and not running out of gas. You see that last bar, and you're like, what does that mean? That means I make it to the gas station or I don't make it to the gas station. That's a big deal. It's a big difference. But I think that you can drill into the thing. I think it'll tell you how many miles till empty. I haven't really messed with this gauge very much. And this is 2023. And I think that there's all sorts of differences between the years, like as far as the gauge cluster. This one has an RPM and a speed gauge, like analog gauges for RPM and speed. I do like analog gauges. I'm glad that it has an analog gauge for speed. I feel like maybe the RPM one is a little pointless. I would have rather had engine temperature gauge. It doesn't appear that there's any way to see the engine temp. I don't think it's on the digital display either. And I don't know, maybe there's some counter argument to that from mechanics or whatever who are like, oh well, if your thing is overheating, you'll get an engine check engine light. And under normal conditions, it shouldn't overheat. And so why do you need to see it? It's just going to sit at the same exact spot all the time on the gauge. I don't know, maybe that's a valid argument, but it just makes me feel good. It makes me feel better to look down and see that the engine is running at the correct operating temp. Make sure that the radiator fan is turning on when it's supposed to turn on and all that stuff. That's an extremely minor nitpick, I guess. And then someone would probably come in and say that the RPM gauge is actually helpful to them. And all right, that's fine. Maybe an analog fuel gauge would have been better, since I was just complaining about the bars on the digital display. I am pleased, all in all, with this motor scooter, maxi scooter. Do they call it maxi scooter because the seats on them look like maxi pads? It's kind of what I think is going on. It's alright, whatever, I don't care. I don't have to shift. Sometimes shifting is fun. When you don't have to shift manually all the time, shifting is fun. But I've had am I doing here? Oh, I guess I'm turning right. I worked at a job where we had a vehicle that was a manual transmission, and sometimes the other work trucks would be taken, and I'd have to drive that one longer distances. And on a longer ride in a manual vehicle, especially in Washington State, where there's hills and stuff everywhere, because I think there was a point in which I wanted a manual car, so I thought it'd be fun, or a manual pickup truck or something. But I'm really glad I didn't do that, and I realized that after I really had to drive it for any extended period of time. Causes added stress and added stuff to have to think about. Especially on a motorcycle, there's so many dangerous things you have to worry about. I don't want to also have to spend a bunch of mental power, brain power, thinking about what gear I'm in, and if a bunch of people slam on their brakes, what gear I need to shift into, and in order to RPM match and all that stuff. I guess, I mean, if you do it a lot, it becomes pretty second nature. You kind of understand, like, hey, the engine sounds and feels like this, so I'm in the good RPM range. And I guess you can always shift into what you think the gear is that you're going to want to be in, and then sort of like lightly clutch into it. And if it jerks you, then you're like, oh, no, that's not right. But I don't know, just not having to worry about this stuff, and there's a bunch of other dangers on the road, I feel like it's better. Especially, I mean, if you're like open road riding, then it doesn't really matter. Like, either one is fine. But if you're doing a lot of starting and stopping, I would just rather be on an automatic. I haven't tried the DCTs from Honda. I'm kind of surprised they're the only ones doing it. It'd probably be fun to have more low-end torque, because that is kind of a... Well, this scooter actually has a fair amount of low-end torque. Considering, it's surprising considering it's the CVT. You would think it wouldn't, but I guess a 400cc will bend the power curve. Yeah, I mean, this thing can punch and go. But there is a point still where it lags. It's like it'll immediately punch, but then it kind of lags after that. I don't know if that makes any sense. You can tell the power curve does this weird thing where it jumps up for a second and then kind of goes down, and then it goes up again. Whereas, you know, if you're shifting manually and you're good on the shifter, you'll never hit that. You'll never hit that lag. You'll never get that lag like that. You'll always be on the power curve, on the, you know. And yeah, I haven't driven a DCT, so I don't know if that's like, is it basically just like a manual shifter, but then the computer's shifting for you, so it's probably doing it pretty well. I mean, I had a, what was it, a BMW Z3, the James Bond 007 GoldenEye car, and that had this like, I don't remember what they called it, like Triptronic or something transmission, that it would like computer shift for you, and but not like a normal transmission. It would I don't know, it was different somehow. Anyway, that thing, I don't think anybody could have shifted faster than it. That thing was like wicked. I don't know, that's what it felt like anyway. It felt like there was no way that a human could shift faster than that thing could shift. Oh, I'm like, what am I hearing? It's that truck's giant tires. I was like, God, I hope that's not my bike. I hope I didn't get a flat. No, it's his tires are just making a lot of racket on the road. That's the thing about riding, is that you hear all these sounds from cars around you. You hear somebody's car rattling apart next to you, and you're like, oh God, is that my bike? Because it sounds like it is, but it's just, I don't know, maybe it's echoing in the helmet or something, but I'm a very cautious, paranoid rider, which is probably the best kind. This truck says Apocalypse on the back in all matte black. It's kind of cool. The village of Johnsburg has lots of water in their water tower. That's what I know about the town of Johnsburg. Or at least they have the capacity for lots of water in their water tower. Sometimes I'll just see a motorcyclist like pop out from like this big train of cars on the oncoming lane. He'll just like pop out for a second and he'll already have his arm out waving. I'm like, how did you see me? Maybe he just has his arm out all the time. The constant wave. A broken clock is right twice a day or something. I think we're speeding. I think that car ahead of me is speeding. Maybe. I don't know what the speed limit here is. Yeah, I mean, I'm still pretty comfortable. It's just that I'm slouched a little bit, which is not good for long distances, but the seat, especially when I have my feet out front like this was one of the big reasons that I got this scooter. It's a combination of things. I want a touring bike. I want a proper touring bike. They happen to be expensive. So break down what a touring bike is. Well, you have a fairing, you have a windshield, you have a comfortable place to put your feet. It's plenty powerful enough, to reach higher speeds. It's heavier, so the wind doesn't blow it around as much. Can fit a passenger, has storage, top boxes or saddlebags, top boxes, whatever, combination of both. And that's what I think of when I think touring bike. Those are all the bullet points of what makes a touring bike a touring bike. And I got pretty much all of that in this, but just for a lot less. I mean, this was a year and a half old when I bought it. What was it? 6,400, maybe 6,500. That is pretty cheap for a touring bike. I mean, for essentially what I consider to be a touring bike. Touring capable, I should say. If you can deal with being laughed out of a biker bar, I suppose. I don't know how many biker bars I'll be hitting. Oh, there's a glacial park. I guess technically I'm wearing my hiking boots, so no reason why I couldn't stop for a little hikey hike. Except for the fact I told myself I was going to make dinner tonight. Let's see if that happens. I do have leftovers. Richmond, population 2,000. Oh, I hate going through lighted intersections that are, 50-mile-an-hour roads. It is so dangerous. That's probably the most dangerous type of intersection that exists. 45-mile-an-hour roads with lighted intersections. And the reason, and there is a solution that makes it less dangerous, you can turn it into a roundabout. And I know a lot of people are like, man, roundabouts. But what I say man to is T-bones. You can't get T-boned in a roundabout. T-bone is not good for a motorcycle. Or T-boning, I guess. Not getting T-boned so much as T-boning someone else. And I think the problem with it is actually the thing that makes lighted intersections better in certain ways. is that, you know, like a lot of people like the fact that, hey, well, I can just drive through it when I got a green light, right? I don't have to slow down. I don't have to really think about who has right of way because you know, if I got a green light, I've got right of way. But it's like that confidence in the whole situation that causes you know, the dangerous situation to happen. And that's where someone thinks they have right of way when they don't. You know, like particularly people in a turn lane or trying to turn with their sitting there with their turn signal on, and you see a green light and you're going straight and you're like, look, I have right of way. And that's all great in an egghead way, you know, to think about it like from an egghead perspective of like, well, technically I have the right of way. I have a green light and I'm going straight. But if that person doesn't see you or doesn't, you know, gets confused for a second and they start pulling out, you know, they're trying to turn left and they go to pull out, all of the, you know, egghead, well, I had the right of way, like it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. You know, if you jump out of an airplane without a parachute, you can argue with the ground on your way down whether it's fair that you're about to be flattened, but in the end, I don't think all the arguing is going to matter much. All the eggheading, all the eggheaded, like you can be right, but it doesn't matter. Because you can be squashed. I guess you can argue it in the afterlife. That son of a bitch, I had the right of way. Doesn't matter, bro. He was dead. Now this is a neat little feature of this scooter, is that it has a parking brake on it. I don't think I'm going to be stopped long enough for it to be useful, but yeah, well, I don't know. I'm going to have it set. I've had it set now for 10 seconds. Not having to hold on to anything on the handles. Alright, I'll turn it off now. Seems like we're going to be going here in a minute. There we go. I mean, it's useful sometimes. I wouldn't say it's like... I wouldn't say there's a lot of occasions that I use it. And I don't even think that's what it's for. I think the reason it exists is for people who park their scooter on hills and don't want it to roll away because the engine doesn't lock into place when it's turned off. You can still scoot it back and forth. It's basically in neutral all the time when it's off. It's neutral until you start accelerating, and then it's in gear. So if you park it on a hill, it'll just roll away. So I guess that's why they put it there. And I think smaller scooters get around this by just having a center stand. It's not going to roll away on a center stand. And this does have a center stand, but it's a heavy bike, and it's, I don't know, I guess for a smaller, weaker person, you might have trouble getting it on the center stand and off the center stand. I guess it depends on what kind of surface you're on. My garage floor is really smooth, and so it can sometimes be a trick getting it off of the center stand. I have to like wedge my boot. I can't do it on like a really clothy shoe, otherwise I'll screw up my toe, but like if I have some good hard boots on, I can kind of like wedge the sole of it in between the thing and the ground, because otherwise if I try, it'll just scoot across the smooth concrete floor. see, like that person, luckily they knew what they were doing. They you know, didn't go for it, but like they really could have. And I mean, I'm not going real fast right now, so even if they did, I guess I might fall off the motorcycle, but I'm not gonna go rolling 20 feet, 30 feet down the road, scraping a bunch of stuff up, banging a bunch of stuff up, and potentially fly under someone's wheels or whatever. I don't know. But at these higher speeds, though, that stuff can happen. If I'm going 45, 50, if I have a green light and I'm going straight and I'm going 45, 50, and a car is like, I'm gonna turn left, and I hit him, I'm going to fly off the motorcycle. And that ain't too cool. Anyway, I'm not like saying there shouldn't be any lighted intersections, and I'm not saying everything needs to be a roundabout. Roundabouts can be a nightmare if they're overused or used in inappropriate places, but people, I think, should be a little more accepting of the cases in which they actually are safer and more useful and more efficient. I think really a lot of people's issue with them is that they just don't have much experience on them. Okay, where am I going? I believe right. Oh yeah, this is where we ride a bit faster. I remember this part. Genoa City. Yeah, so like this is 75. Feels alright, I can hear the engine now. Yeah, I mean, 80 feels fine. I just don't particularly enjoy riding at these speeds. Especially if you're on an interstate and there's trucks around you and they're blowing you all around. Looks like it's about 8,000 RPM right now at 80. 8,000 RPM at 80 miles an hour. That's easy to remember.